I held myself to account, knowing that I have a role to play and a big role at that to move the needle in the right direction, to call the right people for help, to get support from people who are more experienced, to say, hey, what do you think about this? Right. So if it's up to be, it's up to me. And I think that there's a really big empowering aspect of that one statement.
You know how to ask. You trust in your ability to ask when you need help. And you know when you need help and when you don't. When you're asking for help because you don't want to do it versus when you need to ask for help because it's not within your tool set. Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
And it's Emilia. Welcome back.
I want to end this I want to start this conversation where we ended the last episode. The uncomfortable truth. Ooh, funky. The uncomfortable truth is that we all have the responsibility to be mindful of our choices. Now, what do I mean by that? Something that most of us don't like to face is the fact that every single one of our choices matter. That's really daunting for a lot of people because it's like, oh my God, all of my choices matter? That's too much responsibility. That's too much to pay attention to. And that can either terrify you or that can really empower you. I used to be somebody that was on the former, where that much responsibility absolutely terrified me. The self accountability and the amount of responsibility that is inherently embedded in that belief structure is intense. And
Understandable.
I very much used to be somebody that was terrified of the fact that my life was in my hands because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to do anything. I had zero self belief. I had zero self worth. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was capable of doing things. And the idea that my life was up to me, that I was responsible, it felt impossible. And so, what did I do? And this was actually a new realization that I had over the weekend, which I haven't talked to you about, but
Ooh, gimme,
I
gimme.
gimme. It is a big reason why I played the victim role for so much of my life. I
Yeah.
developed this part that I named over the weekend. I named it helpless slash victim. I name it both of them.
Mhm.
And victim was developed from a really, really young age, that basically her core belief is that I'm not capable of doing things and other people are responsible for me. And so what that resulted in was me overly relying on other people to do everything for me, which eventually resulted in me being taken advantage of over and over and over again. Because when you rely on everybody for everything and people sense that, unfortunately, there are people out there who will take advantage of that covertly or overtly. And so I was somebody who, in my interpersonal relationships and my intimate relationships and all of the other aspects of my life, I fell into this victim role. The world is out to get me. Everyone is trying to hurt me. I'm this helpless, innocent little girl who can't do anything. I need everyone to do everything for me. And Emilia's smirking because she met me in that sense. And it
My
was
heart.
brutal,
Mm.
brutal.
Yeah.
Understandable. I was a victim. And not because I actually was a victim, but because I made myself into a victim because I didn't believe I was capable of doing things on my own. And in all reality, I didn't want to. I didn't want that level of responsibility because the amount of work that you have to put in order to really take responsibility over your life is exhausting and miserable and painful.
Mm.
And if I'm being completely and utterly honest, my mindset had not shifted to my life is 100% my responsibility until like a month ago, if I'm being really, really honest. I've built up to it and I've taken more and more and more responsibility over the years, but the mindset shift of every aspect of my life is my responsibility. Woof.
It's a lot.
How many of us, this is not to point blame. This is us having a vulnerable dialogue here.
Mm.
How many of us can authentically say that? That I assert 100% responsibility of my life to me. I only know 2 people who can say that with full authenticity. Emilia and her partner Alan. It's it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable acknowledging that we don't know how to take full responsibility for ourselves. And I very well could be wrong, and there very well could be other people who do that, and I hold that there's a degree of error in my thinking, but I think it's very small.
Mm.
M, why actually, let me what's the question I wanna ask you? What was it that allowed you to get into that headspace? Now, again, I know that you're a different case study because of the level of self-belief that you have in yourself and
Right.
your ability to trust that you can do things, right?
Mm.
But how okay, let me ask a different question. How can people start to develop that belief that
Mm.
they are capable 100% of handling their own life and being accountable? And I need to add a caveat here, okay? We are not
Yeah.
saying that you do everything on your own. We are not preaching hyper individualism, hyper independence. We are preaching taking responsibility for your own life,
Yeah.
meaning you call for help when you need it. You know who to ask. You know how to ask. You trust in your ability to ask when you need help. And you know when you need help and when you don't. When you're asking for help because you don't want to do it versus when you need to ask for help because it's not within your tool set. Like
Mm.
Amelia trying to fix her ceiling that's been leaking.
Oh,
Amelia's not
yeah.
a handy woman. Her trying to fix her own ceiling is irresponsible.
But here's the thing, to Bianca's point that she just mentioned. Y'all, if I just decided to reallocate 20 minutes to a YouTube, I would be the best ceiling fixer-upper in my life. But honestly, that's where that self-belief gets to be arrogant because I honestly
A little bit.
I would not give myself a warranty on how well I did that, right? So, um, one of the things be just to kind of get into this with you. I love what you said and I really appreciate that. And so deeply is it this topic important, especially now more than ever, because we are in more of like a phase of our evolution as a species to where we are spending more time by ourselves more than we ever have as a collective species. And so I mentioned that as a point of context because without having that self developed or not ever doing that, we are massively underestimating and underutilizing from my perspective and also from what I see in the science, we're massively underestimating our own capabilities when it comes to self-belief, self-efficacy, making things happen for us. I'd written in my journal the other day literally something that, for those of you who might struggle with really taking responsibility for oneself, right? And maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't know how to, maybe you don't know where to start. That's totally okay. And what's not okay is to never change that, right? What's not okay is to never build that bridge of skill sets for you and intrinsically and and extrinsically for you to slowly over time prove to yourself and show yourself that you can hold yourself to account. You can hold yourself in response abilities, right? It's reactivity, responsibility. Responsibility, you have a choice. That means you're cognitively, functionally aware of what's going on, and you have the agency to respond to your circumstances, what's going on in your life in accordance with your core values, your core beliefs, and your core aspirations. So I'd written, if it's if it's to be, it's up to me. That mantra, that saying, that statement, if it's to be, it's up to me. Now, in that, I think is a very simple and profound, kind of poetic way of stating what this whole dialogue is, which means if I want it to come into my life, right? If I want something to happen for me, it holds the mirror that it's up to me. Now, again, not hyper individualistically, not 100% is entirely up to me. Let's just use this example of my ceiling leaking. But if I'm going to have someone come in and help me, support me to get this leak fixed, which just so happened to be in a tub, right? Like, if that's going to have the needle be moved, it's going to be that I held myself to account, knowing that I have a role to play and a big role at that to move the needle in the right direction, to call the right people for help, to get support from people who are more experienced, to say, hey, what do you think about this? Right. So if it's up to be, it's up to me. And I think that there's a really big empowering aspect of that one statement for someone who doesn't fully believe that. It might feel like a giant leap at first. And honestly, I've been there in certain areas of my life, right? Like, trust me, I am not a plumber by any means. So if I just were to state that blatantly, I'd be like, BS, Emilia. I don't even know where to start. And I think that you saying, I don't know where to start, I actually think that that's the power in that statement right there, because you recognize where your own BS is, where your own belief system starts and where it stops in terms of self accountability and self responsibility. So that's where this next element is the next rung on the ladder for the bridge that each one of us are trying to build to demonstrate, apply, utilize, strengthen, exercise that self responsibility and that self accountability skill set, which is having a humble moment of like, man, okay, that's where my self belief kind of ends. Now shift gears into curiosity. What can I do to move that needle? What resources are at my disposal to help me learn how to do this thing? Right? That's where B, you and I have Google it, right? There's this thing called Google, right? Like what it seriously though, when you get curious, when
The
you ask
amount
that
of
second
times
question,
the amount of times that I've
man,
asked Amelia something and she goes, "Google it." I'm like, "Okay, thanks. Thanks for your help."
man. And here's the thing. That is the greatest I believe that's the greatest gift. Of course I believe it. But that's the greatest gift of help because I'm teaching how to help. I'm teaching Bianca that she can help herself by
Yes. Yes.
redirecting her to a resource that is there 24/7, 365, so long as you have surface, right? That is free and available to the large majority of us. With that being said, I think it's more of the concept that is applicable in this conversation because I'm not just necessarily advocating for Google prodigy babies out here, right? It's more so the concept of knowing how to get curious and then turn towards the element of resourcefulness. What do I have at my disposal or what can I get creative in a solution to try to move the needle or to try to inch towards a solution or try to
Right.
take more accountability with my health and my fitness? Like that is really, really, really big. And I'll give one tiny quote that I think it
Mhm.
was really helpful for me. And I had said this to a team member at Evolve because there was an element where we had messed up and this team member was in the kind of middle, the throngs of shame and guilt and trying to figure out like, I'm so sorry, like I messed up, I made a mistake, right? Like that's self accountability in the throngs of it. And ultimately what was really important for me as a leader in that moment was that that person doesn't get, number one, stuck in shame. When you're in self
Mm.
accountability and it goes over what is optimal, you don't want to get stuck in shame, right? So I had essentially said to this team member, I said, we have to maintain integrity in what we do, accountability in what we don't, and responsibility to improve. That is how we roll. So it really focuses in, don't
I
get stuck
love
in
that.
shame, right? Don't get stuck in shame with what you don't yet know how to do. Don't yet know
Mhm.
how to take account. Don't yet know how to take responsibility. But certainly make sure that you take responsibility to improve or try to get better on each single step. And so, if that's something that can help you, please use that to your advantage.
There's two things that I want to say here as we wrap up. Number one, this is a slow, gradual process.
Yeah.
Learning how to be accountable within yourself, to take responsibility, to have a mindset that my life is mine and it's my responsibility. Gradual, slow process.
Mm,
State, prove, self assign. Show yourself in little tangible ways that you can do things. Today, I am going to meditate for 2 minutes.
mm,
You do it. You give yourself the celebratory pat on the back that you did it. And then it gives you the confidence that you can do it again and that you can do it again. And that allows you to understand and believe that I trust myself, that I can do things. I trust that I can get things done when I say I'm going to do it because I have all this evidence to show me that I'm capable of doing things when I say I'm going to do them. The second thing that I want to say here, and this is a much bigger topic, and I think we should do an episode on this, M,
yeah.
is when it comes to mental health, there is this, I fully understand where it comes from. There's this belief within mental health that I didn't cause my own mental suffering and I shouldn't have to be the one to fix it.
Mm,
I haven't heard someone overtly say this. Actually, that's not true. I have. But it is a mindset around it that my
yeah.
parents did this to me, this person did this to me, these terrible things happened to me. I shouldn't have to fix it. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You're right. You are 100% right. You didn't do it. It's not fair. It's not okay that these terrible things have happened to you, that these terrible things have happened in your life, that atrocities happen all over the world, all the time.
Mm,
And as empowered human beings, it is our responsibility to work through the traumas that happen to us and that are done to us because nobody can fix it for you. Your parents might have done terrible things to you. Your family might have done terrible things to you. The world might have done terrible things to you.
mm,
And it's your life. Why would you want to stay in a disempowered place waiting for somebody else to fix it? Someone can't broke what they fix in what someone can't fix what they broke in you. It's your responsibility to do that. It
mhm,
doesn't make it okay, it doesn't make it fair, but it doesn't make it not true. Our mental health is ours, and it's our responsibility to work on our mental health so we can all stop doing terrible things to each other. So that we can have the emotional regulation skills and the critical thinking skills and the problem solving skills and the effective communication skills and all of these other incredibly important skills and characteristics so that we can collectively make each other's lives and our own lives a better place to be in. Kind of tying into the last episode that we did, we are all responsible for ourselves, and how we act does impact other people. And we need to be cognitive of that and mindful of that. And again, that can scare the shit out of you and make you feel terrified, or it can empower you that my life is mine and I have a say in what happens. I might not be able to control what others do, but I get to control what I think about it, how that thought makes me feel, and what I choose to do in response.
Mm.
That is how I finally got to the point where it's like, I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
I victimized myself by believing that I had no control because I did. Thankfully, I did. I had a lot of control over the things that happened, and I chose not to see it and I chose not to do anything. And I won't make that mistake again.
Hmm.
I feel empowered by that because it's like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I get to get better. Like, I get to do these things. Like, I get to make my life
Yes.
freaking awesome. Cool.
Mhm. Mhm.
There is a lot of effort put into that, but I make a game out of it. I can make it a fun experience. I can make it unique to me. And my what's the word I want to use? My recommendation, my gift, my hope, my insight, my thought, my
Invitation.
request to invitation. Thank you. Jesus Christ, that took a minute.
I knew
My
it.
invitation to all of you is to find a way to do the same because when you fully believe that your life is in your hands, man, the feeling of empowerment that you can get from that and
Mm.
the changes and the things that you can do in your life are amazing. My life, the day-to-day of my life kind of sucks, but my life in general is amazing because I've adopted this mindset, because I've adopted this behavior and this lifestyle, and it's only going to improve from here. So, M,
Love it. Love
thank
it.
you for all the ass kicks of telling me
Hey,
to go figure it out on my own
you
and for
struggle.
the guidance and the empowerment to help me get to that point.
Hell yeah.
And I'm so thankful that we get to do that for so many other people because it's
Mm.
really cool. So,
That's so true.
um,
Mm.
final thoughts, any takeaways before we wrap up and give our episode
Yes.
suggestions?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing here that you might actually have a part of you that feels really overwhelmed and scared by that, but there also might be a part of you that gets excited when you think about choice and responsibility and every single decision matters for you. And one of the things that really shocked my system at a young age that has been so much of the inspiration that has been brought in those moments where people have come to me and needed that kick in the ass, for lack of better words, is the statement that no one is coming to save you. And anyone who does
Oof.
wants to have you remain in that victim mindset because it gives them power. And so that was something that was a big wake up call to me when I was in my victim mindset and when there was moments where it was really easy to feel super sorry for myself instead of actually just taking accountability and responsibility for building a bridge out of whatever dark space I was in. No one is going to come and save you. There are people who will support you though, and who will guide and equip you to help you save yourself when you are or if you are in that victim mindset because it is so common and such an easy place to be in because of how many people get an ego stroke around being the savior, the hero, right? And so I think that this is really exciting because of the fact that it illuminates how much we have accessibility to our guide within us when we surround ourselves with the right people, when we equip ourselves with the right people. And so I hope that, to Bianca's point, this has helped you recognize that there's an inner self within you that can guide you to the right set of actions and outcomes and growth journey that is right and aligned and empowering and inspiring for you to where you can gamify this beautiful, wonderful life. Right. And I'm right there with you. It's very exciting. So, my episode suggestion is 333 Why You Don't Trust Yourself to Make Decisions. A lot of that
Mm.
has to do with that victim mindset. B, final thoughts and episode takeaway.
Did I put the wrong episode suggestion here? I sure did.
I think it kind of works.
All right, whatever. I'll just double it up.
Let's do it.
340, finally putting an end to self-doubt. Wait a minute, no.
Ma'am, I think,
335.
yeah.
Can I read?
I see something differently.
335. Does shame work as a motivator? Wow. All right.
Nice.
Our hope is that you feel empowered by this. And if you need help In developing these skills, we are here to guide you. We are here to be your guides. All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye.
Everyone.